Hey, it's Mark Linear with your video thought for the day. All right, greetings. I am so excited because I'm going through the books of the Bible and giving about 4 minutes apiece. And today we're looking at the third gospel we've considered, and it's the Gospel of Luke. Now, the first three gospels in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they are what are called synoptic, from the Greek idea of seeing things the same way. They tell some of the same stories with each other, but they do it in a different focus, with a different purpose, with shades of differences between them. And so Luke is the third one. Now, Luke was a Gentile, probably a physician, and he wrote for a predominantly Greek majority world audience. And the key verse that I would use for Luke is Luke 19:10, that says, "The Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost." All right, so let me talk about Luke in 3 quick points. First of all, Luke presents Jesus as a universal Savior. Unlike Matthew, which has a real particular Jewish focus, Luke is real clear that Jesus is the Savior for all humanity. His genealogy in Luke traces not back to Abraham, but rather back to Adam, the father of all human beings. And it shows Jesus to be the Savior of all of those different races and ethnicities. So Luke uniquely highlights Jesus's interactions with the Gentiles, the non-Jews, the Samaritans, women, and social outcasts. The idea is Jesus isn't just Israel's Messiah, he's the world's Redeemer. Which brings me to my second point. Jesus is something of a social revolutionary in the Gospel of Luke. Luke emphasizes Jesus' concern for the marginalized, the fringe people, more than any other gospel. Luke has Mary's Magnificat that celebrates God in lifting up the humble. Luke alone tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, the parable of the prodigal son who comes back. Read Luke 15 if you don't know those stories. They are riveting and compelling. Luke records more of Jesus' interactions with women than any other gospel writer. Of course, women were marginalized by some in that first century time period. But the theme in Luke is clear. In God's kingdom, the last become the first. Which leads me to my third and final point for Luke. And that is, Luke portrays Jesus in some unique ways in his prayer life. It shows him praying at every major juncture, at his baptism, before choosing his disciples, at the transfiguration in Gethsemane, even on the cross. Luke records Jesus' prayers of forgiveness and submission. This Jesus in Luke is deeply connected to the Father, and he models a life of constant communion with God. So, in closing, how do we apply these ideas of Luke in our lives? Well, I like to consider how Luke's portrait of Jesus challenges our tendencies to exclude or overlook others. I ask, are there people in your life? Are there people in my life? Perhaps those of different background or different social status, whom God's calling us to reach out to. Remember the gospel. God's love is not just for you and for me and people like us. It's for everyone. It's why I've made this your video thought for today.